is
It's
that?
it's even hot in here. Trying to cool her off. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to TLC Live. I don't know what he's doing.
It's hot.
It's
We're under
hot.
a heat dome.
Well, it's hot because I am next to you.
Oh,
It
please.
gets hot when I am around.
Yeah.
The room gets hotter.
Yeah. Well, good thing I have my rubber boots on because there's something else is getting higher. Uh, okay, we had a very interesting show for you today, didn't we?
We do?
No, we did.
Oh, we did,
Yeah.
yes. Well,
You
we
want to
were,
tell him what it was?
yeah, we were supposed to have two state representative.
One
Texas,
Republican, one Democrat.
exactly. But Governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, called for a special session.
How dare he ruin our program?
I know. Did you send him an
And,
email?
and you know, and by the way, thanks a lot for the heads up, Governor. I mean, he yesterday announces get your
Exactly.
butt back to Austin by 11
Yeah.
a.m. So yeah, we had State Representative Mano de Ayala from the west side of Houston, and then from the historic Second Ward east side of Houston, we had State Representative Cristina Morales, who is a lifelong friend of mine, and she is on the other side of the aisle.
Yeah.
But you know, we still have friends on the other side. We're not like Washington, D.C. We still talk to our Democrat friends.
You know what I learned, all these years that I've been working with you and politics, learning about politics, is many people that they say, I'm in the other side, but I'm conservative. So
Nah, I don't buy that.
you don't buy that?
Yeah, they don't, you can't be on the other side and be conservative.
I think they can.
Okay, well,
I
let's see how
think-
that works out because every conservative Democrat that I know of in the legislature, either in the Senate or the Texas House, is primaried and attacked by the liberal left because they're not leftist. I'll just give you an example. Senator Eddie Lucio. Good man, actually former county treasurer, I believe, of Nueces County or Cameron County or Hidalgo County. I don't know, but he was a treasurer and became a Texas senator. And they're always after him because of his pretty conservative principles, but he's a Democrat. He's an old line Democrat. You know, back when the Mexican American community in Texas had to fight for their civil rights, because as we all know, we can't deny this, Mexican descendants, whether it was first generation or fourth generation in Texas, were poorly treated, almost as poorly as African Americans. There were lynchings, there were draggings, there were beatings, there were killings. It was, an injustice. And so the Mexican American community joined with the African American community, and they've had that strong bond for many, many years. Now that's starting to break a little bit because, this isn't the 50s anymore. I mean, we've worked very hard to extend civil rights to everybody in the United States. Are we perfect? No. But is it better? Yes. And so now Hispanics, for example, and there's a big difference, Andrea. The African American community were brought here as a race, black people from Africa, descended into the Caribbean, and then were brought into America for the purpose of serving as slaves sold as chattel, which means property. They were auctioned. It was horrible. And then they were enslaved, working on plantations without any compensation, and it was horrible. That is a unique shared experience. So the African American culture, after the emancipation, which, by the way, was brought about by the Republicans, in 1800s in Wisconsin, the Republican Party was formed for one reason and one reason only: to eliminate slavery. And that victory, of course, culminated in the end of the Civil War with the Union troops winning, and then the Emancipation Proclamation was read in Galveston in June 19th. Yeah. That's why we celebrate Juneteenth. It was because it was 2 years later the black slaves in Galveston found out they were free.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the history of the Republican Party. But anyway,
so the idea of the show...
The point is that the African American community has a shared traumatic experience where the Hispanic culture does not. Early on in Texas, well, they did, but now it's so diverse. Now people come here, and we don't have that institution of slavery among Hispanics. That's why we still get you know, a good chunk of the Hispanic votes Republican. Not a majority, but generally you can count on between one third to almost half, and sometimes Hispanics voting Republican. So that's my
Well, I came back yesterday from Arkansas. That
traitor.
I was no, I was.
Traitor. Her
I was.
daughter has decided to join the
I'm not a
Razorbacks.
traitor. It's my daughter is a traitor.
I mean, geez, a Razorback.
She's a traitor, not me.
It's a good school. I'm just kidding.
It's a really good school.
We have great schools around
So I
here.
was there for 3 days in the orientation, college orientation, and I was sitting yesterday having lunch with my kids, and 3 Hispanics that work in the college. The one Colombiano, 2 Colombianos, and one from Puerto Rico. And we were talking, they hear me speaking in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
No, not in English.
Speaking.
Speaking.
Speaking
Not in
Spanish.
English, but in Spanish.
Speaking English.
And then right away, the Colombiano said, "Oh, you're from Colombia." I said, "Yeah." So I started talking to them, and I don't know how we ended up.
Were they college students? How old were they?
No, they
young employees at the university.
yeah, they were there, and they're not. I mean, my age.
Just fine.
Yeah,
So
young,
very
very
young,
young,
very
very young. So, no, they work over there, and the one is a cleaning service, and the other one is front desk. Diversity, and I don't know how we ended up talking about politics, and I find out that like we cannot wait for Biden to get out of office.
Yeah.
We want a Republican president again, and they were talking. I was like, "Wow, so you guys are conservatives?" It's like, "Yes, we come here to work," and they were like talking about that.
Yeah, but actually, there's an Axios poll that came out, which was shared via email yesterday by our pollster Lance Torrance. I was just on the phone with him, talking about the difficulties and the headwinds that the Democrats have with respect to the Hispanic vote. The problem is, I've said this before, I travel the state of Texas and I meet with Republican clubs and Republican county party chairs who want to know, what do we do? How do we message Hispanics? Well, you got to message them. Conservatives don't invest in terms of messaging at the level that Democrats do. That's our Achilles heel as Republicans and conservatives. If we could get our message out, and I'm talking about, there was also an article that said how ridiculous the Democrats' Spanish version messaging are. Biden came out with a webpage when he was running for president with all kinds of grammatical errors and syntax that didn't make sense. But we have to invest, folks. As conservatives and as Republicans, you've got to invest. You got to get away from this mentality that, well, if we message Hispanics, I'll vote Democrat. No, if you message them correctly, and we have the polling data that says how to message them and how the Hispanic community sees their community and what they want from a political party in terms of representation, then yes, you would make bigger gains. But we're having difficulty trying to get that. But anyway, that's sort of internal dirty laundry we don't want to air on this program. But we do have a guest. And let me just say, this young man reached out to us. Mm-hmm. He has declared a candidacy. I'll let you introduce him for mayor of Houston.
Yeah.
And he apparently watches our program. And we've always said, if you watch this program, you're running for office, and you want to share something with us and the community, feel free to do so. And
also he shared his conservative values.
And so he's reached out to us, and we're delighted to have him on the program. The other thing I want to say, since our originally planned program has fallen through, thanks, Governor Abbott. I'm kidding. We would like for you guys to participate. So if you want to participate, Andrea has us live here on her phone via Facebook.
Yeah.
You guys can send us a message. And if you want to be on the show,
or call us, no? I think we still have the number.
We still have a
Mark.
phone number, Mark? He'll get it up there. Mark will get you on the air. But if you want your shining face to be on the program, like Derrick is about to be, send her a message on Facebook. We read them right here. We get messages all the time. And Mark will send you the link, and we'll put you on the show. So today will be kind of a community program.
And I think also we have a phone number so they can call us.
He's looking it up.
In case that they don't want to be
They don't have their makeup on, or they haven't brushed
Exactly,
their
I
hair, or they
understand.
haven't shaved.
I
They
absolutely.
don't look like we do.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, let's get Derrick up.
So this year we have elections in November, and it's gonna be for mayor, for city council member, for city controller, as you're running also for that position.
Full disclosure, I'm a candidate for city controller of the city of Houston.
Correct.
But I also invite my opponents, if they want to come on the program, come on in.
That'll be good.
Wouldn't
You know
it?
what? That's a good
Absolutely.
idea.
Yeah. We have a
Okay.
brawl right here.
And this is live. Okay, so we today we're having Derrick Broze. He is a candidate for mayor of Houston, and he's conservative. And I was reading his website, and he said that he's the only candidate that is conservative, which is, but the mayor is a non-partisan race, but
Well, I think he means conservative in the sense of conservatism in terms of administering government. Not that necessarily he aligns with the Republican Party, but we'll let him
yeah.
talk about that.
And he's also investigative journalist, so
Wow.
colleague. How are you, Derrick? Good morning and welcome to TLC.
Derrick, you're muted. You got to unmute yourself either. I don't know if we've got
Oh,
it.
there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
You bet. So tell us a little bit about Derrick Broze.
Sure. So you kind of started to allude to some of my politics. I can share more about that, but I'll give more of a personal history first for those who maybe in this audience aren't familiar with my work. I'm born and raised in Houston. I'm 38 years old now, and I've been involved in Houston activism and politics over the last 14 years in different ways, starting in late 2009, 2010, really partially inspired by former Congressman Ron Paul and his two presidential runs, and kind of just starting to get involved in politics in that way and paying attention to what government's up to and all that, learning about the ins and outs and for me, the corruption. And along that path, my activism evolved into taking journalism seriously, and now that's what I do for a living as a full-time job. I'm an independent freelance investigative journalist. I've produced documentaries. I've written books. As I said, I've been involved in different forms of activism in Houston, from homeless outreach to building community gardens to going to city council to try to, talk about important issues that need to be discussed more widely, to putting a camera and a microphone in the face of politicians like the current mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner, as well as the previous mayor, the previous police chief. Just anybody who I think is coming to Houston and maybe needs to answer some questions or that I have questions for. And that's the path I've been on for now the last 14 years. I will say that a lot of my views and my policies, the things I want to create and do in terms of being a mayoral candidate, are also influenced and sort of filtered through my experiences prior to getting involved in politics. I'll say at 20 years old, I got addicted to drugs and I went to prison. And that's really the beginning of me kind of, I guess you could say, waking up in some way, really starting to reassess my life and decide what direction I wanted to go. And getting out after that experience in 2008, as sort of experiencing the drug war firsthand and the criminal justice system, I'd say the parts that don't work, and then maybe some parts that are better, but not necessarily working to the full extent they could. And then also getting out through that experience and experiencing life in Houston as a felon, as an individual who's changing my life. It's been now 18 years. And just as an example, I'm in the process of moving to a new home here in Houston. And my felony from 18 years ago, nonviolent drug possession felony, still affects me and my ability to where I can rent a house or get an apartment. And if I wasn't an entrepreneur and a freelancer, then it would probably still affect my ability to get a job as well in the city. So I feel like, and I've seen in my experience that going through that allows me to speak to a wide range of people. My beliefs, especially when it comes to social issues, would be closer on the conservative area in some, and then maybe more liberal, although I don't think that's the correct term I would use, really more open in some areas. But generally speaking, I definitely use my activism, my voice, my journalism to try to see how we can limit and reduce government as much as possible. And that's part of what I'm running on in this race.
So, congratulations. First of all, thank you for sharing your past experience with us, and congratulations on overcoming the addiction, which is any addiction, whether it's cigarettes, caffeine,
Sure.
meth, cocaine. It's
Any drugs, yeah.
difficult. Society looks at people as, druggies and whatnot. No, it's an addiction. Alcoholism, we all know now, is a medical condition. It's an addiction, and so it's tough. And so we salute you and applaud you, and thank you for sharing that. For those that may be going down that same journey, perhaps you
Sure.
can serve as an inspiration to them. But I was going to say before you got on the program, it sounded to me that you more, on the political spectrum, that you were probably more libertarian than you were either Republican or Democrat. And it sounds to me like, that's probably what you are. You're probably, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're for a very limited government that really does what it's supposed to do and then leaves everything else and leaves people alone. And that's why I think you said that you're on the sort of on the social side more accepting. You probably don't get into homosexual issues or marriage issues, whether a man should marry a man or a woman or I mean, those are sort of libertarian positions that leave people alone as long as they're not breaking the penal code, they're paying their taxes. Government doesn't
Sure.
need to step in and tell you what to do. Am I off base there, Derrick, or is that pretty much capture your Walzenschong, so to speak?
That's a fair assessment. I mean, I would say that generally speaking, obviously, I have my opinions and my views on those topics that you mentioned there, and happy to explore that. But generally speaking, I try not to, especially in terms of being a candidate, I prefer not to think in terms of legislating from my specific moral position. I do think there are many issues where government has no say and should have no say in our personal affairs. But I also, and all of this is available on my campaign website, derrickbroze.com. For example, we'll just go ahead and broach the topic. It's Pride Month here. I put out a blog post earlier this month sharing my views on that rather controversial, increasingly controversial area of discussion for anybody who's curious, and kind of sharing, like I said, that balancing my views from a conservative point in some areas, but also, again, wanting the government to not necessarily interfere in people's livelihoods as well.
Well, I got to tell you, that's a very nice website. We've been looking at it and commenting on it. So whoever did it, kudos to them. And kudos to you for putting your name in the hat. Because as you know, I've run for mayor twice. I served on the city council 6 years. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yeah,
You're young. You were probably in diapers when I was in government.
I'm
But
aware of you.
congratulations. It's a tough job. So let me ask you the tough question. To run
Sure.
for mayor of Houston, you've got to do a lot of advertising. A lot of folks think, well, I put my name on the hat, I'll pay the $1,250 to get my name on the ballot. But then how do you get your message out? Because if people don't hear your message, Derrick, they're going to go down the ballot. There's, 14 names on there. Obviously, the name Senator John Whitmire or Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee will stand out. Those are
Sure.
the two top names. So, how do you overcome that? How do you get your message across to Houstonians?
Yeah, so I mean, you're 100% right. It's about reaching people, getting people to be aware of your name, because even if you have the best policies out there, if they have no idea who you are, well, then they're not going to support you. And the claimed top two candidates, I really do take issue with the way the media reports on this. There's often this reports of, here are the five candidates running. Currently, there are 12 people who have filed for campaign treasurer, including myself. And in a couple of weeks, when we can file to be on the ballot, I'll be there to file and pay the fee on day one, because I'm serious about this race, as I was in 2019. Part of my strategy and our efforts has been, I have the benefit of having been doing this sort of work for 14 years now. So I have my own kind of built-in following via social media, and as well as support base here in Houston. So we're not starting off totally from scratch, but there is also the issue, of course, that the average voter in Houston is 60 and older. There's very little voting from anybody my age or younger, and we're trying to see what we can do to activate them and to inspire them to really care. But at the moment, the average voter is probably not somebody who's following me on social media, right? Somebody who is much more familiar with Sheila Jackson Lee, much more familiar with John Whitmire. And so we're doing the traditional stuff of block walking. We're going out to events. We're doing phone banking. We've got voter data at our disposal, and we're definitely leveraging social media. We're doing public events. I'll mention we have an event coming up on July 9th, and this is in the downtown Houston area, in the Third Ward at Axelrad, which is a very popular weekend venue for let's say the 40 and under crowd who to go hang out on the weekends. And so we'll be having some music and we'll be having the campaign. We're doing things like that as well. We're trying to go to the neighborhoods that we know are voting, a voting demographic that will vote in every election, reach out to them. But also we're trying to activate people who maybe don't see anything in this race, because the two people you mentioned there are deeply tied to the Democratic Party, as are the other alleged main candidates, Robert Gallegos, former council member, and others. I would say 70% or more of the candidates are tied to the Democratic Party and do support the Biden agenda and far left policies, Build Back Better agenda. And as I said, I align with conservatives in many areas. I would put myself in that libertarian category. But I think myself and maybe one other person are the only ones who offer anything close to an alternative in any real serious manner. Because although my name is not known as much as Sheila Jackson Lee or John Whitmire, or folks might look at me and say I'm younger, or I'm not, the stereotypical candidate that they're used to, we have real ideas and real practical strategies and ways to approach many of the city's issues. And I think that if people do give our campaign a serious look, they will be surprised. And this is what we saw when I ran in 2019 too, that although I often heard from people, I think you're too young, or I'm not going to vote for you, but I support what you're doing. There was much support around the city. Everywhere we went, people were resonating with the message that we're sharing, which is very much about trying to expose the corruption within the current administration, which is on the way out, thankfully, but more importantly, focusing on solutions, like what can we actually do to fix some of the concerns that Houstonians have, rather than just throwing more money at it or creating a new government department.
And from a campaign perspective, I guess the good news is for you and your generation is it's far cheaper nowadays to advertise digitally than it is to go to ABC 13, CBS, NBC, Fox News, Telemundo, Univision, because they gouge you, for terrestrial ads. But you can do digital ads.
Yeah, and social media these days.
Social media nowadays really is taking over.
People are really more in social media than watching TV.
Yeah,
and
I got to say, I was watching the news the other day, Andrea, and it's just that they don't do anything innovative. Nothing. They report on the shot, the 3 homicides over on the north side, east side, and one on the southwest side. The concrete buckling. I mean, every station does the same thing. It's like the news directors call each other. They go to happy hour together the night before. Say, "Well, what are we going to talk about tomorrow?" No station is out there doing anything innovative.
No, and the worst thing
no
is,
investigative
and then
reporting.
You watch the news in English today, and tomorrow the Spanish.
Yeah, they pick it up.
The Spanish, they put what the English did yesterday.
It's the English wire.
Nobody
is innovative, and
that is ridiculous.
That's why.
And you, as a journalist, I'm sure you know that.
It's frustrating. Well, I want to add to that just real quick, if I may, that this is one of the reasons why, the barriers that we're trying to overcome through this campaign that I'm trying to highlight to anybody who's following. And it is the really huge dearth of reporting, like not only in terms of what you're talking about, Orlando, just on daily issues, but when it comes to this campaign, there is pretty much no reporting done. We're now, about just under 4 months away. We're about to file to be on the ballot, and things really just start heating up locally. But I think there would be a lot more engagement if the local media from all the different channels actually took the time to interview all the different candidates. There's 12 people right now. Maybe
yeah,
they
but
won't
the
all
problem,
stay in
Derrick, is they're paying these people $28,000 a year, and they're not giving them the resources to go do any in-depth reporting. I mean, they're just getting up in the morning, and the producer says, KPRC's did that big wreck on I-10. Get out there and go get some footage.
Well, Derrick, journalists these days is not the journalists back in the time. I mean, I don't know if you know my background, but I used to be the news anchor of Univision. And I work at Univision for 15 years, 12 here in Houston, 3 years in Laredo, Texas. But in that time, people didn't have a choice to watch anything else but the news. So we were making more efforts. I remember we were doing special stories. I'm an investigative reporter. We were doing the 4 months that we call it sweeps, which is the rating months. And we were like really making an effort to do something and investigate something and do real stories. These days, they don't care anymore. They don't do any called sweeps. Nielsen still exists, but the ratings, to me, they're not accurate at all, and people are not really watching the news. Like, I have probably 6 TVs in my house, My kids don't watch TV. They're all the time here. And I see a lot of people that even me, I don't have cable anymore. I have YouTube TV sometimes to watch, the national news, but the local news are horrible to watch. I mean, it's wasting
Yeah.
time. They don't do their job. We used to, and Orlando remember that, we used to cover City Hall every week. Every week we
Sure.
were
Yeah.
at City Hall. Every week we were at a commissioner's court. Every week we were at the criminal.
Obviously, she was a distraction at City Hall because all the city council members were looking at her and not paying attention to the debate, Derrick.
Including.
I can see that.
But frankly,
you know
I mean,
what
she brings up a good point because when I
She
served
does.
in 1995 through 2001, I still remember Don Cobos was a reporter who eventually became a news director at Channel 13. Don would do. He was at City Council every week.
Yeah.
He was roaming the halls. He knew the council members. He knew the issues. He knew the background. He knew what was going on. He gave the people the real story. Mary Benton, who was at KPRC Channel
And now
2,
she's working
for the mayor.
Yeah.
But she was a great reporter. Fair as fair could be. Mary, you couldn't figure out if she had a dog in the hunt. I mean, she wanted to know the facts, and she reported the facts. It was never slanted. Frank Michelle, who became the editorial chief of the Houston Chronicle, always inquisitive, always digging in. Alan Bernstein, a reporter, political reporter for the Houston Chronicle. Alan's kind of, we've had our political ideological differences, but I got to say, Alan always was fair and reported
Yeah.
the news, the facts. I remember
And they knew what
he used
they're
to
talking
delve
about.
into Social Security issues that people were like obscure issues, but that were important issues for people on Social Security.
They were
I mean,
real journalists.
yeah, Doug Miller at Channel
Yeah.
11 was probably one of the best political reporters in the state of Texas. He's now at Rice University.
Now
but
these
those
days-
days are gone, man.
These
I mean,
days, you go
I
and
agree.
talk to reporters these days. They're like, I mean, I watch the news. I'm like, this looks like a kindergarten.
yeah, it looks
looks like a
I
kindergarten.
went to Straight Jesuit. We had SJTV, Straight
Yeah,
Jesuit Television.
exactly.
And every Friday we produced a news.
It looks like
A
that.
friend of mine from 7th grade named Charlie Saul was the anchor. And really, the media is going to come after us. But really,
It's fine.
the SJTV productions were almost as good as today's newscast.
Of course. So
You know what?
here's
I
my
think that
question,
these,
Derrick.
these are
Derrick,
some of the
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah.
I was
Comment
gonna say,
comment
this
on
is
that,
some
and
of
then
the
I ask you something.
Sure. Yeah, this is some of the reason I think that people are looking more and more towards the internet, and why people like myself have been able to make a career out of this is because I didn't go to journalism school. I just have a natural interest and knack for investigating, for asking hard questions. And I've been to the press conferences with some of the other media. I've tried to schedule meetings with Mary Benton for the current mayor. And in many ways, what I notice is that the media continues to fall down on their job. People see this nationally with CNN and others like that, but we don't always look at our local media as the same way. But they have been a huge roadblock in the 2019 election. And up till now, mostly they've ignored me. I am open and continue to remain open to interviewing with any candidates. In 2019, we were able to get on all the local networks and get airtime, get in, the Chronicle and everything. And I'm grateful for that. But what I was saying earlier is I think it's the fact that they fail to do really in-depth reporting when it comes to the races and the mayoral race, the city council race. There's no profiles of all the candidates or deep, conversations or even 5-minute conversations. And if they did that, and not only did that now, but early instead of just a few weeks before the election, I bet there would be more engagement. There would be more interest
Nope.
and being a part of it.
Well, let me just say, though, in their defense, the old saying, if it bleeds, it leads. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think the average citizen is going to get real excited about watching a 30-minute newscast on KPRC or Channel 13 or 11 or Fox News that is an in-depth profile of candidates. I mean, it's just not going to happen. But I understand what you're saying. I mean,
Mhm.
and I share that frustration. I think their reporting ought to be more in depth on the issues, and then they can, hit a
Yeah.
couple candidates and say, "What are you talking about?" So,
So my question here is like, in case that you win this race that is very competitive, and I don't know. I mean, this is so many candidates. I don't know who's gonna win this. But what is your plan, for example, to get the message to the citizens of Houston to let them know what is the government. I mean, people are clueless. People don't know that why they don't go vote, especially the Latinos. They come here to work, and even that we are 50% of the population. I mean, the voting rate is very low because they don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody is educating them. The media is not doing their job. So, what is your plan about that?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're definitely making an effort to reach out to non-traditional voters, and we do go campaign at the college campuses. We did in 2019. We plan to again this year. We're trying to do outreach. We're reaching out to those who are more on the conservative or libertarian side. Anyone who maybe feels like the current crop of candidates are too far to the left to their values. I think that the things I'm speaking about will resonate more with them. And I want to mention that the main plank of from which everything else that I'm really talking about springs from is to take away the power of the mayor, to reduce the power of the mayor. And I see this as a conservative move, as a libertarian move. For those who are not aware, the mayor of Houston, not Sylvester Turner, but the position itself is one of the strongest in the United States, if not the strongest. And it's not just the strong mayoral form, but it is specific to Houston in terms of the mayor, whoever he or she is, gets to set the weekly city council agenda. And that city council agenda obviously sets the terms of what's going to be discussed and debated and potentially voted on. So if you want to talk about a topic that is not on the agenda and you want to go to city council to share your concerns and do your civil duty, you go to city council. You'll be placed at the end. You'll wait 2 to 3, 4 hours to speak. And when you get there, the mayor's gone, half the council's gone. And it's really a huge roadblock to progress that I've seen time and time again over the last decade plus. So we're calling for amending the city charter to make it that if 1/3 of city council, which would be 3 council members, 3 to 4 council members, if 1/3 of the council says my constituents are calling me, they're concerned about this issue, it should automatically be placed on the agenda, that the mayor does not have the power to block that. As it stands now, though, even if you had all 16 council members saying my constituents are concerned about this particular topic, we need to discuss it, we need to debate, maybe potentially introduce a resolution and hold a vote, the mayor can still say no. And this sets up a situation where city council members have to get in good terms with the mayor in order to get anything done. I think that is part of what breeds corruption at the mayor's office. And thankfully, people are actually resonating with this idea. It took off in 2019. There was a coalition of groups in Houston that got together and gathered more than 40,000 petition signatures, and they succeeded. And it was supposed to be on the ballot last year, but Sylvester Turner didn't want it to happen. City council voted to delay it. It's supposed to be on the ballot this year. In addition to voting for city council and mayor, people are supposed to be able to vote to take away the power of the mayor's position, or to reduce it, at least to give it back to city council. And I think in an ideal world, this would encourage people to get more involved. If you actually knew that your city council member was going to listen to you and could do something about it, then you might choose to be more engaged. And so that is a core plank of what we're running on. And as I said, everywhere we go, conservative, democratic, black, white, brown communities respond to that idea. I think most people don't even understand how strong the mayoral position is, and not necessarily in a way that serves them.
as opposed to San Antonio, for example, where the city manager really takes on the role of most of the duties of a mayor of Houston. For what Derrick is talking about is that every department head in the city of Houston works for the mayor. They answer to the mayor. Mm-hmm. Council members can call the head of public works and engineering, and they can go tell him to go pound dirt. I mean, they don't have to listen to the city council members. Now, they normally do, because the council member may go to the mayor and grovel, and the mayor says, hey, take care of that pothole in District E or District I or District J. But he's correct. But in San Antonio, the mayor doesn't have the power that the mayor of Houston does. The mayor of Houston is very powerful by city charter. And so what he's talking about is a charter amendment to diminish some of that power by giving members, a majority or a substantial number of city council members, the power to have an item placed on the agenda based on their initiative and not the mayor's.
Yep.
So, Derrick, thank you. We'd be happy to have you back. We're impressed with your background and your story. We congratulate you for overcoming your addiction and sharing your journey with us. And good luck. And I guess I'll see you down the road on the campaign trail.
I'll see you out there, yes. And if anybody's interested, my website for the campaign is just my full name, DerrickBroze.com. And I appreciate you guys giving me a chance to speak my message.
Well, thanks for reaching out to us. We're happy to have you. And any other candidate that wants to reach out and be on the program for a while, come send Andrea. First of all, buy her a margarita and then send her an email. She'll get you scheduled on the program. Derrick, good luck. Thanks for joining us.
Derrick, thanks so much. We're talking to
I'm trying to get you a free margarita.
We're talking to addictions, and then people are gonna say like,
well, we're not
I'm addicted to margaritas.
We're moderate consumers, aren't we?
Well, I love margaritas. It's one of my favorite drinks.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that 4th of July is coming up, so probably I'm gonna have a lot of margaritas.
El 4 de Julio.
El 4 de Julio. I'm talking about 4 de
I
Julio.
want to know how high Budweiser, Bud Light, InBev sales are going to be 4th of July. They're going to take, my prediction is they're going to take a huge hit. Actually,
you know that they're not the number one beer anymore.
I know.
It's a Mexican beer, Modelo.
Modelo
Especial.
I thought it was Dos.
Dos X, no. Modelo
Dos
Especial.
X is actually pretty good beer. I'm still, look, I mean, everybody said, I'll drink an American beer. There aren't American beers anymore.
Nope.
InBev is not American.
Mm-hmm.
They own Budweiser, Bud Light. I think the Canadians bought Coors. I don't know who owns Miller. It used to be, God, I can't remember. But anyway, if you want American beer, support your local microbrewery. Uh-huh. They're all over the country.
Oh
I mean,
God,
you go
yes.
to Denver,
and
you go to Bozeman, or you go to Livingston.
We have a lot of ones, and they're really good.
We have St. Arnold's. We have, what is it, Carbach? We have a lot of breweries that, what is it?
I think InBev bought
It's like, golly.
I don't know. I'm not a beer drinker.
So anyway, the point is I want to see what the InBev sales are in America for their brand Bud Light. I mean, I don't get wrapped around the axle about that. But what's interesting is I'm really shocked that the American people have sent a strong message to, the term is woke corporations.
Correct.
But Disney is suffering.
Yeah.
InBev is suffering. Target is taking a huge hit. So that experiment is not working. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's why next week is going to be Wednesday, July 5th, so the day after 4th of July, Independence Day. We're going to have a professor from University of St. Thomas talking about the history of Independence Day, but also how Americans are not, the lack of love of this country, less
patriotism.
I don't know how to pronounce that word.
Patriotism.
Awesome. Yesterday,
By the way, what year, little trivia, was American independence?
I don't know. I don't remember.
1776, July 4th, 1776. What state was the last state to sign on to the Constitutional Convention and approve the Constitution?
I need to start reading the
What
history.
state? Take a guess. New York.
New
York was worried. This is how far we've come, ladies and gentlemen. New York was resistant to join the Union with this, federal government because they were worried about the power of a centralized federal government. And it was New York that came up with all of the individual rights and probably responsible somewhat for the Bill of Rights. And and now New York and California are like, damn America, damn the civil rights. Let's tell everybody what to do. Let's tax the hell out of them.
Yeah.
And now everybody's leaving those states.
Yep.
So, 1776, July 4th was the Declaration of Independence from the British. And New York was the last holdout to sign on to the.
That's gonna be
The new republic.
a good educational program.
It will be. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
We still have a little time that you and I can chat, but I know that you want to get started doing other things today.
Now he's blaming
She wants to
me.
go. She wants to start 4th of July early by drinking margaritas.
No,
at lunch.
it's not true. It's not true. I am. No, it's not true. Not today.
Okay.
Not today. But no. I mean, you want to keep talking?
No, we're done.
Okay.
All right, folks, we need your help. TexasLatinoConservatives.com is our webpage. As you know, we are a nonprofit organization that engages in education and advocacy. And we train young Hispanics that are conservatives to be the next crop of conservative leaders in the state of Texas through our organization called Leadership Latino. We're also a general purpose political action committee in the state of Texas. So you can donate to either one. Help us. We rely on donations from conservative Texans to keep everything that we're doing going, including this program, our engagement efforts, our training efforts. I was in Bastrop, Texas. Actually, thank you to the Bastrop GOP. Curtis, the chairman, had me over. They had a good crowd attend. I spoke for about an hour, and it's very engaging.
Wow.
What
was that?
Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember. I was just the other day.
Okay.
I don't know. I lose track of days. But anyway, I get invited to speak to counties all over Texas. And so Bastrop, thank you for your hospitality. Look forward to coming back. And if you need me to come by and speak, or if you want to see Andrea, just send us an email. Take care. We'll see you next week.
Nos vemos el próximo miércoles.
Hasta
Chao,
luego.
chao.